Hey guys, this is Coach Adrian with Blitz Kids, and today we're going to be utilizing calculation in order to achieve victory. So if you haven't already seen my other video over calculation mechanics, I highly suggest you watch that video, as this is a complimentary video to that one. So we're just going to be going to leechess.org. We're going to be clicking the learn button, and it's going to give us some puzzles. It's just like the puzzles that you would play on chesskid.com. It's just like the puzzles that you would play on chess.com. So here, we're going to utilize all of these calculation mechanics to ensure our victory. And immediately, in this puzzle, I see some checks. And the biggest thing that you learn from like the other video that I had suggested was that you calculate your checks. And that's the main meat of the video, is just calculate all of your checks, all of your forcing moves, which are your checks, checkmate threats, and then your captures. And those are your forcing moves. And so here, like, we want to do the same exact thing, and that's going to carry on to the next level. And you always have to exercise that muscle, right? So being consistent on these puzzles is very important. So let's start off with this one. Another thing that we naturally do as chess players is we want to solve the position right away. So as soon as we were presented a puzzle, even this one for that matter, you automatically start calculating. You automatically start seeing what you would do in the position, which is perfectly fine and it makes sense. This is natural. But the natural order of operation of things is to actually decompress the position. You actually have to look at the position for what it is and come up with some type of idea or plan. And so it's definitely okay that we see these checks first, but we have to break down the position, and that is really, really important. That's super important. That's like 50% of the game right there, just evaluating the position and making sure that you have a correct assessment of the position of the board, so you can then in turn have come up with these creative ideas. If you skip this portion, you may very well miss something or miss the main idea, and you'll probably sit in the position an extra 20 minutes just looking at it because you didn't assess the position correctly. So that's what I'm going to start off with here. And we see we have, queen, queen, three minor pieces. I always do material first. Three minor pieces versus three minor pieces. No one has the bishop pair. Have two rooks versus two rooks. And this is very cut and dry type of analysis. And the reason why I'm doing this so quick, in a real game, I'm doing this slow. I'm making sure I'm looking at all of the particulars. So in these puzzles, I'm just doing it really quickly because I don't have a winning move. And the reason why I even want to evaluate is so it can give me additional ideas that I didn't originally see since the first look or the first glance at the position. And we see that it is equal. All right. Now you start getting a little bit deeper. All right, we're both uncastled, so this is actually a telltale. This will lead me to believe that there may be some double attacks in the position. And based off of that, now queen a5 is starting to pop out a little bit more, but let's keep that in the back of our head. Let's go a little bit deeper. I also see open c file. I see the pressure here. This is very important here. The pressure on d7 is, nicely defended, so I don't have to worry much there. But I also see this pressure, which is a bit annoying. I wonder if I can put pressure on the c3 square. And the reason why I say that is because after queen a5 check, it just looks like after something like c3, can't I just play queen takes b5 and win a piece? Well, I surely can, but my opponent's response is going to be knight to c3. Oh, whoops. Sorry. And the idea after queen a5, knight c3, it's not so good anymore because I successfully blocked the bishop here from taking here on f6 and doubling up my structure, but I can't play queen takes b5 here because now knight takes b5 would just win on the spot. So it's actually a bit annoying because I put him in a pin, but then I don't get to win the free piece. So in this position, I want to look at maybe piling up on the piece. And I do see that I can play bishop to b4. but then after bishop takes d7, check, knight takes d7, then something like queen to d2, and maybe rook to c8 to apply more pressure. Now, if I didn't notice that the c file was open, again, that comes with analysis of the position. If I didn't analyze the position, I would probably miss this. So this actually looks sufficient because my opponent can't protect an additional time. So I think there is one creative idea that my opponent could play, and that is after queen a5, knight c3, bishop to b4, bishop takes d7, knight takes d7, and the very horrible move, king to d2, would actually suffice here. Rook to c8, and now queen to e3, protects the c3 square 1, 2, 3 times, and I'm attacking it 1, 2, 3 times. So how can we put additional pressure on this is the main thing that I'm trying to see. Well, I could definitely say it's already successful in the manner that I was able to put additional pressure and get the king unsafe. And here, I think I could play rook takes c3. Oh, no, because then bishop takes c3, right? So, not that move. Forgot that the bishop was protecting. I want to play this move. I really do. But with my knight on d7, not too great. Now another thing is with this calculation practice is you have to utilize different parts of the calculation. So the calculation mechanics. So like something that you can do is switch the move order, and this is a trick that I use. I noticed that there's something really good about that position. Like there's something there, right? But I just can't find the winning move, which I kind of do see the winning move. But after queen a5, and that's a success in itself. If I force my opponent to play queen to d2, have him under pressure, that's a big success, right? And then I can further up the ante in that position. But after queen a5, check, I may want to switch the move order to maybe like after knight to c3. What if I play bishop takes b5, which is a capture, instead of applying more pressure on b4? Or what if I play rook to c8 instead of applying pressure onto b4, with b4? So queen a4, queen a5, excuse me, check, knight c3, bishop takes b5, and now there is queen takes b5 check, and then I have to play queen takes b5, and then knight takes b5, and it looks like I'm not the one attacking, my opponent is attacking on c7 and also f6. So I actually do like queen a5 best, and after knight to c3, or yeah, knight to c3, bishop to b4, my opponent decides actually to forego this and just castle queenside. And after takes, looks like I gained some rating points. And that puzzle was actually, what was the rating of that puzzle? The rating was 21-21 on that puzzle. So let's go ahead and try another puzzle. All right. So this one, oh, it doesn't give you the rating just yet, but we'll figure it out in just a moment. So the first thing is to do what? Pause your video, see if you can figure out that answer. All right, so the answer is evaluate. You have to evaluate the position before you do anything else. So queen, queen, 1 rook, 2 rooks. Oh, that's a difference in material, so that's important. I have 4 minor pieces, and then he has 3. So it looks like I am down the exchange. 3, 4, 5, 3. Down the exchange and pawn, so I'm really down some material here. And now we can start looking at a little bit more particulars. The king is a little bit unsafe. I do see that there is some discovery checks. That is interesting, but this is actually protected. So I wonder if I can get my king. I wonder if I could get my opponent's king right here. So whenever I play this discover check, king here, and then queen takes, which will utilize the pin along the b file. So that's what I'm looking to do, and I think that might be the right idea here. So I'm looking at these two jumps, noticing immediately that with knight to d, there's a discovery attack. And this is why it's so important to just absorb the position. That's all you gotta do is just take a pause, take a moment. If you do that, you're gonna have so much more so many ideas than before, where you're just calculating. All right, so I do want to play. I feel like knight to c4 is the right answer, but I'm first going to calculate knight to d3. Knight to d3 with the idea of the bishop attacking here on c3. If rook takes d3, then bishop check. And rook to b3, bishop takes b3 check. And the opponent should play king to b1 there. Which in turn, I believe I could play queen takes a5, b takes a5. And then bishop takes d1, discover check. Oh, that's not too good on my opponent. He'll lose some material there. So that's probably not smart for him. But what if my opponent plays something simple and doesn't take the knight? So let's say knight to d3. And my opponent plays rook to c2. Bishop check. Now rook takes bishop. So that's not fun. So let's look at knight to c4. Knight to c4, hitting the queen, hitting the rook. The rook should very well take, but then after bishop takes c4 check, the king has to move to b1. It's the only move there. Remember guys, this diagonal is open, so the king can't utilize the a1 square or the b2 square. So after king to b1, I can play queen takes a5, and we're utilizing this pin. So let's say knight to c4, hitting these three pieces. The queen cannot move, notice that as well. I guess she could go to a4. That's a possible choice. So this is actually a square she can go to. After bishop takes c5. Or I can actually play knight takes and then threaten here and here. Ooh, this is so juicy. Oh, I can't capture here because then there's knight. Okay, so knight takes here. Okay, so knight recaptures with the idea if bishop check now, knight recaptures, and there's well, there's still a discovered check. And the queen on a4 is unprotected, so that's why this is completely different, because with the queen undefended on a4, we actually don't have to utilize the pin. That may be going down the rabbit hole, though. Interesting, though. So knight to c4. Queen a4 doesn't work, but let's look at some of the other moves, like rook takes, then bishop takes, and then queen to a5, because the king would have to go to b1, excuse me. So just to be clear, if knight to c4, rook takes c4, then bishop takes c4 check on the king has to go to b1, and then queen takes a5, utilizing the pin, and I win the queen. Let's look at another line, knight to c4. Well, everything else just loses the queen. Ah, yes, there is a check here. And this is actually pretty important, right? Because then, let's say I play king to f8. Maybe not h7 or h8 because then there's this rook check. And so you could see the problem with if you don't evaluate correctly or take your time. And of course, like with these puzzles, I'm trying to go as quickly as possible. You can very well get into some trouble if you don't analyze the position correctly or assess the position correctly. So after knight to c4, you have 97 check, king to f8. Then the queen can actually utilize this square here, which in turn, that would actually be not my favorite square. I would have to then play knight takes e3, which forks these two pieces. And if the rook ever recaptures, then I can't really utilize that fork anymore. Yeah. I'm still trying to calculate, guys. So this knight c4 idea is just not that good. Okay, so there's an additional idea, and this one, wow, this one I did not see, but again, just absorbing the position, you would be able to see this. So I think there is a knight to c6 idea, but the idea is a little bit different because after rook takes c6 check, um, there is bishop to c4 check, but then there's rook takes c4, and after queen takes a5, b takes a5, there is rook to b2 check, king to a1, and at the very least, you can have a draw with like some type of repetition. Then the rook is here, so maybe there is an interference move. This one is tough, and I really think that the rating on this puzzle is out of the ballpark. This one is tough. I want to play knight to c4 and make that work. Knight to d3, there wasn't, just to review, knight to d3, if I play something as simple as rook to c2, then there is knight takes. And now maybe combine the idea after h takes, a takes, then bishop to c4, rook takes c4, rook to b, no, queen takes, b takes, and then rook to b2 check, king here. It's really going down the rabbit hole though. Okay. Utilize the move order. What if we play bishop to c4 check first, now that we have this rook to b2 idea, and then we can actually go somewhere with that. So bishop to c4, rook takes c4, queen takes a5, b takes a5, rook to b2 check, king to a1, and now if we play something like knight takes c4, we could see that we have numerous discovered attacks, and there should be some mating material coming soon because I have like knight a3, knight c2 stuff. I'm also hitting this bishop, so the bishop would then have to move. And just to go a little bit further in that, just to make sure it's concrete, which it might not be. So we're still testing the waters here. Knight takes, knight takes, queen takes a5, b takes a5, knight takes 4. bishop to b1. Man, I really want to make that work, but it doesn't. Looks like I miscalculated that time. But it looks like we can still play. This puzzle is tricky. But we can conquer it. Because I was thinking I can insert this check first, but that is not possible with the knight right here, so that's not going to be it. Okay, so I think actually with knight to c4, I think I might have missed something. Knight to c4, rook takes c4, bishop takes c4 check, and then I take here, right? So after knight c4, knight e7 check, king f8, rook takes, or not rook takes, excuse me, queen to e4. Well, now I have bishop takes and I have king takes here. That was so simple. I guess I originally just missed that. Yeah, so the answer is knight to c4 here. And see, this is the difference between like intuition and actually calculating. Don't be lazy. Of course, your mind is gonna drift you towards the right answer, you know, once you play a lot of games, but you have to calculate it through no matter what, especially if you're under 2000. There is no such thing as intuition. You're still building it. So knight to c4, and that should be pretty much everybody here watching this video. So knight to c4, knight to e7, king to f8. And now after queen to e4, I mean, well, I can scoop this guy up, and that wins some material. And then there's no threat or danger here. So, and then I also have like maybe even these ideas here in the future. So I mean, I really like this. But let's see here. Maybe there's even a better move here because I have these two pressures, right? So I have bishop takes c3, which looks very, very enticing. But I'm just seeing if there's an in-between move where I can win the queen, but there's contact here, so maybe not. So I should just utilize this while I can. Yeah. And here I'm doing much better. And the rating on this one was 2181, which it definitely felt like that. So thank you guys for watching, seeing me pretty much struggle through those puzzles. But through perseverance and willpower, we actually did solve the puzzle without being lazy, without getting too anxious, and without rushing it. So one thing to practice here, last tip before you guys go, is make sure that you always, like whenever you're practicing on Lichess or chess.com or chesskid.com, always utilize that time factor. Just, there's no time limit. Utilize it. And whenever you get better at these and you're on a quick pace, then what you'd want to do is actually set a timer for like 10 minutes, depending on what type of format of tournament that you like. If you like G120, then 10 minutes per puzzle is sufficient because once you realize that you get in that critical position, you'll give yourself 10 minutes to solve those puzzles and you'll have enough time. But if you're playing, like let's say a G20 game, like in tournament play, then maybe 10 minutes would be too much because that would be pretty much 50% of your time. So instead, utilize a different time and just make sure that it's well adjusted to whatever tournament format you're playing in. But that's whenever you get better at just solving the puzzles. Just try to switch the move order, and that's my advice for today is just try switching the move order. If you feel like you're onto something, switch the move order, see if it fits. And like in this puzzle, I combine different ideas. So thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful day.